Good morning. Since Mr. Roach and Mr. Zerno were showing you the joys of Meet in Google and Zoom, I figured that I would show you another functionality of video conferencing, the one that comes with Canvas itself, and that is Big Blue Button. One of the things that I love about Big Blue Button is the fact that it is part of the Canvas system. So the cutting and pasting and things of those natures that Mr. Roach was talking about with Zoom, you don't really need to do for your students. They will automatically get a message that this conference has been created, and there's some other great functionality that I've been using that recently. That being said, it tends to be, and they even said they weren't prepared to do all of this work with the coronavirus, all this at home work. So it can be a little bit buggy sometimes with connectivity. So they even said try to use some other functions if you need to. But that being said, I've used it for the past 2 weeks and I've been just fine for the most part with things. Okay, so what you're going to do, this is just my normal class, my homepage for my class for my freshmen. What you're going to do is you're going to go over to the left-hand side where it says conferences. And when you click on the conferences themselves, you will see, number one, it says new conferences and concluded conferences. And that's what I said. What I like about this is it has shown overall all of the conferences that I have had for this class already. Some of them are just office hours where I tell the students that I will always be available during, in this class, third period. During third period, if they have any questions on the assignments that I've given, or just want to talk and touch base with things. If that's the case, then I don't record it. If I'm doing something where I want to instruct them live or have important things to talk about, I will record it. And what's great about it is that as I record those things, you could see like yesterday's class check-in, I recorded, so it says one recording for it. So if you click on that, you'll see I only was talking about it for 10 minutes apparently that it recorded. And you can click on it and you can watch the presentation of what I was talking about yesterday.
Yep. So if you looked in the announcements that I posted for.
Okay, well, you don't have to hear that announcement anyway. But yeah, that was my class check-in. So it records everything for 2 weeks. You could also delete the recording if you want to afterwards, but I always leave them up just in case a student couldn't make it, that they don't miss anything overall. And like I said, it will hold it for 2 weeks. So if you look further down, I've been doing this for over 2 weeks now. So if you go down to like the first date that I used it on March 16th, there is a review and an intro to what I was expecting. That is now gone. The recording is gone permanently. It can be negative from the point of it's only online. The good news is it's not clogging up your computer and taking up space. The bad news is it does go away after 2 weeks. But I haven't found it necessary to have it longer than that. There is a function there that says like we can contact our Canvas rep, but I haven't found it necessary to do it. You can click on the big red button that says conference to make a new conference, and then you just name it whatever you want. I usually use the date for the conference, 31st, 2020. It's not 2002 anymore. All right. Keep the same thing. There's no function there. I don't change the duration of the time. You can. It doesn't really matter because you're starting and stopping the conference whenever you want it to. And then you can enable recording for that, which is important. I don't worry about the no limit. And then it defaults to invite all your class members. So once again, because this is associated with Canvas, everyone in your class will get this message saying that this has started or this conference has been made available. and they'll know. Typically, you could type in the description over here, meet during class time, not mandatory, whatever you want, right? Um, and as Mr. Roach had said before, if you are using conferencing, we are asking that you do that during your class period itself, right? And then once you're done, you click update. I'm not going to do it today because I already have a March 31st one set. Typically won't say in progress. It'll just be blank to begin with, and then there's a start button, or you can go in and out of these things. So you could just hit join, right? That's what I'm doing now. And this is the screen that you will see. It's going to ask you how you would like to join. I'm going to choose listen only right now because I'm using the microphone to record these things, this video for you. So I don't want to mess things up that way. So I'm just going to say listen only. And
The only person in this conference.
I'm the only person in this conference. Great. And maybe some of my students will show up. I doubt it, but that's all right. And this is the default screen when you start a meeting through Big Blue Button. All the functionality that was in Zoom is still here as well. You can, if you want to start recording, you just hit the start recording button. If you never want to record anything, don't record it. It's up to you, right? Down on the bottom where I'm pointing here, you can share your webcam, which is fairly straightforward. Every time you share your microphone or webcam, it's going to ask for permission for you to do it. You can change whatever quality you want, depending on how fast your internet speed is. And you say start sharing, and voila, a beautiful picture of me is up that any one of my students can see, right? And as long as I have my microphone on, they can hear me as well, right? Your other students will also appear up here if they use the video function. Excuse me. I'm going to shut my webcam off though. The other thing you can do is you can share your screen, similar to what Mr. Roach said. So you can choose a specific application. What's great about that is if you're using like PowerPoint, if you're using presentations already, you can have the presentation be on there so it automatically flips through all those things. I have a lot of things open. I apologize. Or you can use your entire screen, which means anytime you switch screens, they're going to see it. So it's up to you once you do that, how you want to do it. But if you use an application, so like this picture, let's just use the PowerPoint presentation that I had up already. If I hit share, that's what's on the screen right now. So if you look at Big Blue Button, that's what they're going to see. So the right-hand side is exactly what they see. So if I go and now close this, because that's not important, now that should be off that screen. Sorry. And then you could click the stop sharing button and it will stop sharing your screen on you. And it goes back to the welcome to Big Blue Button function main page. It does have a public chat function. What I find to be helpful about that, I know Mr. Roach talked about it on Zoom. Sometimes when things don't work well, the students can type in a response that way instead of using their voices, because sometimes everyone speaking at once can be a little bit much. So, or they're having issues. So they can let me know, hey, Father Keith, I can't hear anything. And then I could respond either via voice or I could type and it'll go back and forth. Another great thing that I've started to use with it, if you go over to the settings button where all the list of users will be, all of your students will appear when they show up here, is if you go to create breakout rooms. I've started to use this for small groups. You can say how many rooms you want to break them out to and start assigning people to various rooms by just dragging and dropping them into the rooms. You say how long you want to do it, and later on I'm going to do this with my students for their group. They're going to be in groups of 4. So I'm going to put them into their specific groups. And what it does is then it gives them kind of separate chat rooms to talk about their own things so they're not talking to everybody else. So they can work on a project that way. So they can talk to one another without them having to set up the Google Meet or anything else. You're setting it up during class period for that to work. Okay. We'll close that. Unfortunately, the thing that's difficult about that with the breakout rooms is you need the students to be online when they're and logged into Big Blue Button for that to work. Oops. So we're going to close that. Oops. See, and sometimes we do that. So you just hit rejoin and it'll come back right to where you were. Let's listen. Yep.
The only
Unfortunately,
person in
anything
this
with the chat. Oh
conference.
no, the chat right there, that was still open there. Hey, Father Keith, I can't hear anything. It's still up there, which is great. When you're done with the conference, all you have to do is say, you could say leave audio, or you could go up to the upper right hand corner and say end meeting or log out, and it will leave you completely. It'll ask you what you thought about the conference. I'll say yes, it was wonderful. Send feedback, and it's done. And it'll bring you back to your main page. The web conference is never really done unless you say it's done. So even though it brought me back to there, right? If you go back to conferences, that conference will still be open. So you can go back in if you wanted to, if you weren't done yet, or did it by mistake. Until you hit end, it will not end the conference. But you won't be in it. So your students can go in, but nothing's going to happen because you haven't done that. Okay, once you click end, it will go into the concluded conferences and you will be all set. That is Big Blue Button. I hope you enjoy it. If you have questions, let me know. I apologize if this was too quick for some of you. I just recorded it very quickly.